Hi everyone, and welcome back to my No Buy Year. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the best way to turn your purchase regrets into success. So I recently did a video about the things I regret buying on this No Buy Year. And to that point, let me update my background. There we go. I'll get to this later. And in that video, I went through the things that I purchased this year that I have some regret about. And I'm pleased to report that I've found the way to turn most of these, if not all of these, regrets into success, at least in some form. And I'm gonna get right to the point here. The way to turn purchase regrets into success is to use them. Use all the things. Use everything you've purchased that you have some regret about and try to use it fully, use it a lot, use it all the time. Use it for its intended purpose. Make sure you get what you thought you would out of it. And that'll do one of two things. It will either turn that regret into a success, or it will highlight that it is a regret and perhaps spur you to remove this item from your life. Now that I've got that out of the way, that's pretty much it. So you can leave now if you don't want to hear me go through all the examples in my personal life. But now I'll go through the examples. And I have to confess that I'm going to go by memory here because I don't actually have a list of things that I regret buying this year. It's in that video. I'll link it up here. And you can see if I hit everything that I talked about in this video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the clothing items, namely the vest that I purchased in April and had this strong sense of desire for. There was something I couldn't resist about this piece of clothing. And I'm happy to report that I have not felt that feeling since then, or the moments that I have felt that feeling. There was a time with the graphic t-shirts I shared in my week of style videos. There was a time where I was tempted by graphic t-shirts, but I was able to dial it back and say, hang on a second, I actually have these already, and it would just add one more option to my collection. I don't really need this. So I haven't fallen into the trap, even if I've felt little flickers of the same feeling. Anyway, so this vest, I realized after getting it that it wasn't exactly going to do what I thought it would for my wardrobe. I don't know if I can fully articulate what I thought and felt about this purchase at the time, but there was some kind of magical quality that I was feeling that it would add to my outfit possibilities. I thought it would make everything cool. I thought I could layer it over anything and everything, and I would feel amazing in it. I would feel maybe artistic and quirky and unique and trendy at the same time in a way, but like in a subtle way where I wasn't overtly trendy. It was like, oh, I'm so cool that it's a whole thing. The fantasy self was raging strong. So I purchased the vest. It came. I tried it in some of the ways that I'd been envisioning it, and it just didn't really work. It wasn't this magical layering piece that I thought it would be. And because I had purchased it for layering, it was a little bit oversized when I wasn't layering. So if I was just wearing it over a form-fitting tank like this, or like just by itself, so like exposing a little bit of the midsection, it was a little bit oversized, and it wasn't exactly how I envisioned it in that way. There's nothing wrong with the oversizedness of it. In fact, it works perfectly fine, and I wouldn't have bought a smaller size going back, doing it again, because I do believe that in my personal practical life, my needs for clothing, it's better to have something that's a little bit larger than overly fitted for my own preferences and comfort level, and it does enable me to layer it more. So if I do want to put it over a sweatshirt come fall time, I will be able to do that. Now, getting to the solution point of this vest, I realized it was kind of a regret when it wouldn't fulfill all those purposes in my closet. It didn't look exactly how I thought it would. I didn't feel exactly how I thought I would. I didn't feel like this suddenly cool girl stylist person. I still felt like myself, and now with this kind of distinctive plaid vest in my closet. And this is going to be a video of stories. So aside from this book right here, I'm actually not going to be showing any of the products in this video. So for those of you who don't want to see stuff, you might be relieved. For those of you who do want to see stuff, I can link the videos where you've seen these items in the past. There was that video of the things I regret. I also wore the vest in this video during Style Week. Anyway, the point is, during the week of styling my clothes, I made a point to wear some of these things that I think that I love, but don't actually wear that much. even prior to this week, I was kind of doing this reflection on the things I regret, and I thought, you know what, let me just try to wear this vest more. Maybe when I bought it, I pictured it in this context, but maybe in real life it can work in this context. And maybe the aspects of it that I'm not so sure about, you know, the print in real life, maybe I can turn those into advantages. And that's kind of what I did. In that last video of Style Week, I talked about how because it was printed, it felt a little more safe to wear at home. It didn't feel like if I got a stain on it, it would totally ruin the garment, which might not be true. You know, stains can still ruin patterned garments, but it gave me the sense of security to wear this kind of nicer piece of clothing in situations where I might get little hands staining it. Whereas with a perfectly white shirt, you know, even with this tank top or this cardigan overlayer, I wouldn't really feel that same sense of security that if somebody just, you know, grabbed it, that the pattern would camouflage any damage done. So the pattern became a huge advantage, and then the oversized breezy nature also kind of became an advantage in the styling, right? It made it kind of more casual, more easy to wear, and the use of the item that I was not sure about confirmed that it was a positive addition into my life. Even if the vision in reality was not exactly the same as the vision in my head when I purchased it. So here's a case where using the item was a big check mark in the win category. It made this purchase regret into a purchase success. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the phone jail, the plastic box with the lock on it. This was a tool that I envisioned would solve all my problems of phone addiction. And as I discovered and as I shared in that video of regrets, no tool can do the work of change for you. It is the use of the tool and actually the work of the change, even without the tools, that makes these habits different, that changes your life, that, you know, implements these new things that you want to be implementing. I realized that I didn't need the tool to make the change, and that also the tool was not going to help me make the change without me doing the work. So I did the work, or I've started doing the work. I've started making a point to use it more. In fact, I made a video about locking my phone up in that box for a full 12-hour day, or, you know, a 12-hour period from morning to night. And now that I've used it literally in day-to-day life as well as in a piece of upcoming content, it has confirmed that it can have a useful place in my life. If I make a point to utilize this tool in a conscious way, in a more frequent way, it can become a purchase success instead of being a purchase regret. Now I'm going to take a pause here and say this is not to advocate for justifying purchases, right? I'm not saying, oh, I promised to use this thing, therefore I should buy it. It's not, you know, if we've already decided that we want to do a no-buy period, this is not a justification process to circumvent your rules. This is a retrospective process to change your current regrets into present successes, right? It's not to be used as a justification. Speaking of creating content on this channel, which is not necessarily what I mean by using these things, because obviously not everybody is creating content, but speaking of content made from purchase regrets, this book is another one. So I kind of found out that I regret this only after using it, only after reading it, which is what a book is for, right? You read a book. But I made sure to get further use value by doing a reflection on it, in addition to my experience of reading it and then, you know, having the first impressions of like, oh, I guess this isn't really for me, and I didn't get what I thought I would out of it. I made the point to do the next step of reflection. I did it publicly on this channel and learned a valuable lesson about how I could have avoided this kind of regret by evaluating the author of this book and the message that it was perhaps intended to convey before parting with money to bring it into my life. And now I know, going forward, that if I'm thinking about buying something like this, especially something that's designed to kind of teach something or share something, I need to know if it's going to connect with me in a way that's going to be valuable. And learning that lesson was perhaps worth the money that I spent on this book. I do intend to pass this on, whether it's reselling it at a used bookshop or something like that. I don't know if I have any friends that would actually like this kind of book in real life, but I do intend to pass this on so that it gets a second life and doesn't languish here on my shelf. In fact, now that I've talked about it, maybe I'm gonna switch it out again. There we go. Speaking of books, to address the viola sheet music, I still have not used that. And I think I'm just gonna kind of let this one go because I have very good reasons that I don't have the time to put into that right now. I have some other musical goals that are taking basically all of my focus, as well as my actual job, which involves playing the viola in a symphony, and I've committed to preparing much better for that job than I have ever before. And if you want to see evidence of that, I do have live streams now on my music channel with evidence of my preparation. Basically what I'm doing is as soon as I get the music for the next concert, I'm going to go read through it and document this online so that I can kind of jumpstart my practice. Basically when I read through the music, I'm going to discover the spots that are difficult and that I need to practice more so that I can really prepare that weeks in advance of the service. We have to get the music at least 2 weeks before the show, is how the library works. I have not used the other sheet music, but I'm also just going to make peace with that because my priorities are such that I can't really arrange my life to use it right now. So it could still be labeled as a mild regret as far as the timing of it. But as far as the actual material, I guess it's kind of one of those neutral things where part of me is still appreciative that I have this material, even if I can't use it right now. I mean, I guess in some ways it's in the same vein as collecting books that you don't have time to read, which I don't know. As long as you're not doing it too much, it maybe is not that damaging of a habit, but as soon as you start doing it to an extent where it becomes out of control or more than you're comfortable with or takes up more space or creates financial stress, then it might not be something you want to continue doing. So I guess to this point, my sheet music regret is in the category of it's not something I do that much. It didn't cost me that much financial stress. It didn't cost that much. And I think I have the level of collection that I can get through everything. I can get to everything in a reasonable time period for the nature of the material. For people with bookshelves full of books that are on their to-be-read list, which I guess could be me right now. This is actually still on my to-be-read list. I've read part of it, but I need to finish it, and I plan to speak on it on this channel when I have. But when the to-be-read list is too long, then it might be time to put a pause on bringing in new books, which, to be honest, is kind of where I'm at right now. I really need to stop bringing in new books, and I really need to get through the ones I have and make the videos on the ones that I plan to make videos about. The rate that it's going, though, some of these videos might be for next year, because I also want to be able to dive deep to the books that deserve a deep dive and do them justice in communicating these ideas so that perhaps people who can't access these books without paying for them, whose libraries may not have them, can get the essentials of the information from watching my video. Another purchase that was in the category of almost regrets, it didn't actually make it into the video of things I regret buying because I bought them for a very practical purpose, are these sandals. The sandals that are kind of like a hybrid between sneakers and sandals with the rubber sole. I bought them for the purpose of biking outside because I didn't have any open-toed shoes that I could wear on a bicycle. And there was a period of a couple of weeks where I didn't go on any bike rides. And I started feeling that little niggling sense of, oh, I shouldn't have bought those during those couple of weeks. The timeline of this might not have corresponded with when I made that video of things I regret, which is why they didn't make it into that. But in the weeks that followed those couple of weeks, I went on several bike rides. And once again, this notion of actually using the stuff totally dispelled that feeling of regret. I reminded myself, this is the practical purpose I bought this for, and now that I'm actually using them, I'm so grateful that I have these. These are exactly what I needed. They're fulfilling all the things that I thought they would in my practical approach of purchasing these secondhand sandals. I got them used as well. So another case where use value turned potential regret into success. And then the saga of the greens powder continues on this channel. That's one of those things where I used it immediately and was kind of trying to argue with myself that I did not regret this purchase. You know, I was kind of trying to force myself to use it every day, to drink the greens powder, and eventually I reached a point where I just had to accept that I didn't enjoy the experience. It wasn't adding perceived value to my life. I wasn't feeling any better, and I just felt kind of stupid for falling for the trap of the marketing, you know, all the benefits that people talk about with the greens powder and just how insidious its presence is, right? The Blooms, the AG1s. I didn't buy either of those brands, but just seeing all the commercials for it, seeing all the influencers talking about it in such a positive way and how it changed their lives and all of this, I fell into it and was trying to convince myself that I could use the product up at least and then be done with it and not fall into the trap again. And I always knew it was probably going to still be a regret even if I used it all up. This is a case where using it made me confirm that it was a regret, that I wasn't going to do that again. This is another case where I do plan to use this product in content on this channel, which again, to me, does not justify a purchase. I want to get that out right away as well. I don't look at influencers purchasing things for their channel business as a positive thing on the whole. In fact, that could be another video in entirety, I'm sure. But when influencers talk about how these are the tools of the trade for their job, there's always this kind of background thought in my mind of like, well, you didn't have to do this as your job, and are you really adding value to society in this job that you do? But anyway, I'll come back to that another day. I'm trying to get some redemption from this greens powder by having the plan to create a meaningful piece of content, debatably, with this product that I now have. I didn't plan to buy it for the content, but now that I happen to have this kind of triggering product as far as sponsored ads go, I do plan to make use of it in hopefully a positive way as far as the impact on society that my video could have if viewed by an audience. So starting with the greens powder as kind of a demonstration of the limits of this method, using what you have, turning it from a regret into a success, there will be times that using your things confirms that they are a regret. And then you can take appropriate action to remove this thing from your life in the most conscious way possible. There are circumstances where as well you will recognize that you have areas of excess. So your books might be one of them. I'm looking at some books that I have down here on my to be read list, some of them on my to be talked about on this channel list. I can think about my wardrobe as an example. Think of my purse collection up here. You know, some cases I can use everything and still have excess as well. Like, it doesn't negate situations where you might just have too much of something, and maybe your life would be better if you did some work to reduce the excess in some of these areas. Maybe not. Maybe you genuinely enjoy rotating through 12 purses, which is kind of where I'm at right now. But I can see a future where I no longer enjoy rotating through so many. And if there's a point where not all of them get used, it might make better sense to rehome the ones that no longer have use value in my life. And I guess this kind of brings up the point that nobody has to feel regret about things they purchase either. And I'm sorry that I didn't put this earlier in this video because maybe not everybody's going to see this. But I'm not advocating to feel regret. I'm not saying people should regret their purchases. I'm just saying in instances where you do regret a purchase, where people reflect on something they've bought and feel like maybe they didn't need to buy it, there might be ways to remedy this in a constructive way. The way that I would advocate to remedy this first and foremost is to use the thing and then either appreciate it or dispose of it in a conscious way, of course. So I guess the thesis, the overall point here, is that the use of the stuff is the best informer of the next course of action for your stuff, and perhaps even the next course of action for the things that you are considering buying in your future. Now, I can see by the fact that I've filled up a memory card with my rambling on this subject that perhaps I should wrap it up there and not overcomplicate things anymore. So I hope that provided some food for thought if you have purchase regrets in your history, and maybe some optimism of how to turn those around. And maybe doing this exercise will help you avoid making such purchase regrets in your future, as I hope it will do for me and mine. All right, bye for now, and I will see you in the next one.